Hi, this video is going to be extremely important. It does contain some entertainment value that you can use in your tabletop role-playing games. For those of you that are new to the channel, maybe someone found this video at random in the internet. My channel focuses on tabletop role-playing games. But this video, yes, it will provide ideas for tabletop role-playing games, but it also has to do with things that you could associate with real life. Just a disclaimer, because I am going to be uploading this in YouTube but also in Odyssey. This video could be considered science fiction, and it is up to the viewer to come up with his or her own interpretation of things. Let's put it like that. Okay. After watching this video, if you pay attention to the video, if you watch the videos that I mentioned, that I'm going to put a few links in the description that will be of importance for this video. If you really pay attention to all of it, you will never look at science fiction the same way again, especially hard science fiction. I've mentioned this in another video. The main difference between science fiction and fantasy as separate genres is that science fiction is based on real-world science. It's fiction, but it supports greatly on real-world science. And when it comes to fantasy, it's anything goes. Any flight of fancy, anything that you can imagine with no real foundation on real science. But after treating or looking into this subject matter, you will see that science fiction, especially hard sci-fi, is actually fantasy as it is being presented. And you will see that sometimes science fantasy, that is that genre that combines elements of science fiction with fantasy, could actually be closer to the truth. I will let you decide. This particular topic is somewhat risky when it comes to this video getting taken down, because like 2 or 3 years back, I actually read in the YouTube terms of, well, that what they allow you to post or upload in this platform. They mention a particular term that we are going to discuss today, but I am going to be avoiding that term in order to fool or trick the algorithm. It's a particular term that they say, oh, we don't allow those videos because they spread disinformation and false information, all of that. I find it very ridiculous. If you're uploading something and it doesn't have a solid foundation, then people are going to, well, intelligent people are going to realize that you are spreading nonsense. So they should allow everything, because anyone with common sense is going to realize that, oh, that's nonsensical, because I already looked into it, I applied the actual scientific method, so it doesn't make sense. For example, the poison that they want to put into people's bodies, that they have put into the bodies of many people, that poison, you know what I am talking about. And I cannot mention that because YouTube will take the video down. Remember, I am also going to put my link to my Odyssey channel in the description. But yes, you know, this poison. There is a way to verify that there is something really wrong with that poison. Well, putting aside the fact that so many people are getting sick after taking this poison, and those of us that don't take that poison, we are not getting sick, that's pretty logical. You need to connect the dots. It's right there, staring you in your face. So there is another method, and I have talked about this method in other places. I'm going to mention this in a weird way, because, like I said, I'm tricking the algorithm. You take a fridge magneto, one of those magnetos that you place on your refrigerator, and you place them on your arm, your chest, your head, and if you took this poison, it's going to stick to you, and that's not normal. I can already imagine the school system telling you that that is actually normal. No, some toxic metallic thing has been placed through this. So that's those videos where people started to inform others that don't take that poison because this happens and you'll start to get sick. YouTube took down, I think, all of those videos. It only left up the videos where these shields that didn't take this poison, obviously, they started to place those magnetos on their bodies, and oh look, it doesn't stick. But if you go to Odyssey, you can see hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of people warning others that actually happens. So it's ridiculous. Why is YouTube taking down those videos? If anyone can ridicule, if that was not true, you can easily ridicule the guy in the video telling him or her, oh, that's not true, you place that thing on your body and I placed that thing on my body and it's not sticking or something. But they are afraid because YouTube is an evil company. Well, it belongs to Google. There is a reason why Google removed the do no evil, how do you call it, like a company objective or philosophy from their terms, from their philosophy, because they are literally hell-bent on doing as much evil as they can. So like I said, it's quite ridiculous that they took down those videos. If anyone can verify that, if that is false or true. If you took this and you put a fridge magneto on your body, it's going to stick to you. And those that did not take it, like a normal human, it doesn't stick to you. So yes, it's really ridiculous. Okay, now let's move on to the topic at hand. And you could be thinking, why is he talking about this? Well, because science fiction has to do with science, and people are not applying science. They are not using the scientific method. They are treating science as a religion based on faith, on the blind faith, I would say, on the scientists, on the mainstream scientists, because they are afraid that when people start to carry out their own research, their own experiments, actually looking at things for themselves, having experience with the different causes and effects, they will realize the truth, and they are terrified about that. And this is something that was implemented, well, I would say strongly implemented. It has been done throughout history in different, throughout the ages, but it was so strongly implemented during the reign of Charles II in England. It's a way of controlling the masses through, obviously, through governmentalities, controlling minds, but also through religion, through dogma and doctrine, through the machinations of intelligence agencies, and the corrupt corporations in present times. Okay, so, like I said, they have manipulated people into believing things without actually putting them to the test or carrying out their own observations. There is this concept, and this is where I have to tiptoe around the algorithm. But remember, check out my channel in Odyssey if this video is taken down. We live in this thing, right? So when someone challenges that model, that lie, people go nuts, but I will tell you why. Because you have what the ex-KGB agent, Mr. Can you actually say his name? Well, let's say Yuri. That's a very common name, Yuri. A lot of you know who I am talking about. Yuri calls those people useful idiots. And what are useful idiots? They are just saying things without actually verifying things. They have not put things to the test. A lot of them are unbalanced when it comes to their emotions, their minds. They are not balanced. They have mental or emotional problems. A lot of them take drugs, the typical stoner or drug addict stereotype. So they start to mention this nonsense that they say that the place where we live kind of looks like a let's say a dish or a plate. I have to use these terms because, like I said, this is risky for the video, for the video to stay up. So, like I said, they come up with this nonsense that it's shaped like a dish or a plate, and so people immediately dismiss that. And I am sure that there are some agents involved that also spread these lies, these absurdities around. So people immediately dismiss that idea because they have been taught from their earliest education that the place where we live has a certain shape, right? But what if there's some truth? Not to the dish thing, but there is a different truth. And it's related to a very foul thing. Are you familiar with the toroid shape? It kind of looks like a donut. Now, and you could be thinking, wait, but that puts two things into question. If the place where we live has a toroid shape, then that means gravity exists. Or is there some other thing that keeps us from falling? That ridiculous, it's kind of like a meme, like you're falling off the dish, right? If a ship starts to go forward and keep going, and the ship keeps going, and it falls off the plate. What if there's something like a barrier of ice? And remember, this is science fiction. It is up to you to consider if it's true or not. Okay, what if there is this ice keeping you from falling? But you wouldn't get that far, because if you are a normal person and you decide to take your ship or your plane and you start to keep going forward, you just keep going to see how far you can get, you will be either planes or ships will intercept you, and they will try to convince you to turn back, or they may shoot you down because they don't want you to find out the truth. You could say, no, they are doing that for your protection, right? If that is so, why do they allow people to keep climbing those dangerous places like Mount Everest, different places in the Himalayas, going to different dungeons, like a role-playing game, going to different jungles and deserts? A lot of people die every year going into those dangerous places, and you don't find like a squadron intercepting them. It's obvious that they don't want people to go too far away from the coral, from the cage, because they don't want them to realize the truth. And the videos that I'm going to be linking in the description, they have evidence, they have video footage, they have an interview with Admiral Byrd, and I think this is a safe way to put it, from the high jump operation, high jump, that Admiral Byrd, he talks about how there is land beyond what has been informed, what has been portrayed in that mockery of a map. There is land beyond. And I am not talking about glaciers. He speaks of land, like every continent, like America, like Asia, that you can explore. He's very encouraging for people to explore. But sadly, he spoke without the permission of his masters. So about 1 year later, he died peacefully while sleeping, because he had revealed an inconvenient truth. The links that I will be putting in the description, I am going to refer to those videos in a certain order, because it is important for you to obtain the context that a certain aerospace organization, those that supposedly carry out research and development related to, I think I will say it space. Instead of saying with the ace pronunciation, I'm going to say it space. So those people that supposedly research and develop things related to space have been lying to us about so many things. And in the video that I'm going to put in the description, you will see many instances of them lying. I can't believe that there are still people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, a typical boomer stereotype, that they still trust strangers. The stranger danger thing? Do not trust strangers. Why do you keep trusting those organizations? Why do you keep trusting the government? Why do you keep trusting religion? Why do you do that? Are you insane? You are letting them decide so many things about science and your health. And in those clips, have you noticed, let's call this organization Nasal without the L. Nasal, you know who I am talking about. So Nasal without the L, they supposedly show you these videos where they are at a certain station, you know which one I am talking about. So these stations, they are without gravity and they are like, woo, you know. Have you noticed the wires, the ropes? Through Hollywood magic, they have managed to, and through computer, obviously through computer technology, they have managed to hide the wires, but you cannot hide the clothing. So for example, let's say you have a wire attached here and you use the computer to erase that wire, but you can still see the clothes being pulled around when they supposedly like do their little somersaults and flying, because you know they are in space, but you can see the wires. And the video that I am linking will analyze this very carefully. And have you noticed that sometimes those actors, those evil bad actors, they are like playing around with objects because there is no force of attraction? We will talk about that force of attraction in a few moments. Have you noticed that sometimes they are manipulating things that are not there? That's because they are using augmented reality. It's a computer effect that has been used in movies, in video games. So this also explains another, I would even say it, that it's a meme. Those reptile eyes. Because those eyes, they are augmented reality contact lenses. All of these, you will see it in the links. I think I'm going to put a community post, so I'm going to put a link to that community post where I put the relevant videos. So they have their augmented reality contact lenses, and they start to play around with these computer-generated objects, and they actually fool people with the illusion that they are actually throwing this bottle of plastic, this plastic bottle of water. So sometimes the connection or something goes wrong, and they start to handle or manipulate things that are not there. That's why they sometimes do these very weird hand motions, like they're grabbing something and there's nothing there. There was an error. They are very lazy, extremely lazy. And they promote that thing of the reptiles that I said. You know, I don't want to say the name just to avoid the algorithm in any case, but because it promotes another lie. You know, they say that they landed on a certain thing, and there are people that actually think this to be real. After watching all of those movies, and you compare the special effects, and again, the video will show it to you. I can't believe that they still think they landed there. They are ridiculous. Now in current times, you analyze with the special effects, modern special effects, and you can identify the effects. And another question, who stayed back in that place? If they landed, you see how they landed, and they have a video clip of them taking off. Who stayed behind? Oh, they led like an automatic camera, right? If that is so, why are the tapes missing? You cannot, that should be declassified information. If they actually landed, make those clips available to people. They don't want them to analyze the clips. That's why they came up with the lies that the footage is no longer available. Why is there footage of astro people, let's call them like that, fixing stations, and there is like a little bubble of air? In space, there is a vacuum, supposedly. So there shouldn't be a bubble of air. And they have cornered those astro actors with that, and they cannot find an answer. They get cornered, they get exposed for their lies. They tell them, hey, can you explain to us why there is like this little bubble of air behind you when you are supposedly repairing that station? And they cannot answer. They get really nervous. Some of them have even attacked the people that have been interrogating them. You know that fool? Let's call him Arm Weak. Because Arm Weak, instead of weak, the opposite, this Astro fool, he got cornered. Someone started to call him a liar and a coward, and he punched the guy. If you were actually confident, if you're not a liar, and you had actually landed there, you would be like, oh, look at this fool, this bozo, this jester, saying those things. He doesn't know that he actually was there, but he got mad because he knows that he has been tricking people, and he didn't want to swear upon the Bible. You know, like you swear upon the Bible if you are telling the truth. Not because he's religious, or maybe he is, but because he knows that the Bible is a certain grimoire. The Old Testament is a very powerful grimoire. So they know that if you place your hand and you start to tell lies, let's say that you can think about this however you like, but a curse will fall upon you. So, and like I said, you can treat this as fantasy if you want. Maybe it will serve you for your role-playing game campaigns or something. I'm just putting this information out there for you to use however you wish. So yes, they have been exposed so many times. Have you noticed that the images that they take from the place where we live, they are photoshopped? They are so lazy that they even copy-paste the clouds. All of that in the video that I'm going to put in the description. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they do this with all of the other things. So yes, I can't believe that people still swear upon this. They think that all of this is real. You must understand, after so many decades, the governments, religions, the corrupt corporations, and the intelligence agencies, they are not your friends. They are not on your same side. It's them, all of them, against the people. So, going back to those videos. In those videos, they provide enough evidence so that you realize the lies of nasal without the L. If you are satisfied with the provided logic, the reasoning, the evidence, then I will indicate that in the community post. You can go to the next video, so you can start watching a very fascinating series. This series is not perfect. It indicates some valuable things. Have you noticed that sometimes I was almost going to use that particular term, but you know those objects that shouldn't be there, that they take a certain photo or video clip and you see some technology from the past that shouldn't be there? What if people in the past had pretty advanced technology, perhaps in some aspects that surpassed our current technology, but they got eliminated en masse? That's a very disturbing thought. You could easily, through the manipulation of historical documents, you could easily erase hundreds or perhaps even 1,000 years of history from mankind and make you think that our current state is the most advanced. But maybe we are actually living in a post-apoc version. You know those movies like, you know that funny cheesy movie? Kind of like Your Hunter from the Future, I think that's the name. Well, you know those movies that you have these characters living in a very somewhat primitive way, and suddenly they realize that they were kept in ignorance and there is actually a more advanced technology, and they come into contact with it and they're like, wow, no, like they have their minds blown because of the reality. What if there is something similar to that? What if in the past there were actually phones, there were actually technology? Let's say I'll take a chance. Imagine moving sidewalks in every street. That's crazy. Like, you're going to be like, what? That's impossible. There is no evidence. What if that evidence has been carefully eliminated? This is Tesla territory. You know, the real Tesla, not the satanic company from Lone Scum. We're talking about Tesla. He actually wanted to, you know, and you say this, energy that does not cost. Let's call it like that. This is his territory. History. You know how instead of history, it's his story. They manipulate history. So Tesla was getting close to that technology, and he conveniently died. So in those videos, you're going to see some pretty amazing things. Things that have been kept from us. And like I said, you have Admiral Byrd telling you about there is actually land beyond. And why are they doing this? Why are they keeping people in the dark? And it gets pretty jarring. This shape that I mentioned, this is the tip of the iceberg. They're going to show to you, let's say that perhaps, and it's very difficult to tell this to someone we have been brainwashed all of our lives. What if the sun and the moon, and remember, this is science fiction. What if the sun and the moon are closer to us than we actually think? And what if they are actually... I'm going to let you watch those videos, because if I tell this and the programming kicks in, you won't watch them at all. And like I said, I'm going to specify a particular order for those videos because I don't want you to waste your time. The first video that I'm going to recommend is a somewhat short video compared to the others. Watch that video, and if you are convinced of the trickery, the lies of Nasal, then watch the rest of the videos. So that's why you won't look at sci-fi the same way after watching this video and the other videos, because you're going to see how many lies they have placed upon the collective mindset of humanity. All of those measurements, though, how much does an astronomical unit measure on the, what's the dimensions of this thing? And those are all lies. And funny enough, a lot of those measurements, not all of them, but a lot of those, end up in the 666. You know, the 6 and the 6 and the... Very convenient for a satanic organization. Have you noticed that little mark in Nasal's logo? Kind of looks like a red... It kind of looks like something pointing upwards. But what if it's a red T? Then it's an anagram for Satan. Like I said, I will let you be the judges of these videos. Just a little warning. While the videos are good, the creator of those videos, he sounds to be a bit young, so sometimes he lets his passion take over. Sometimes he becomes quite objective in his presentation, but other times he starts to jump to a lot of conclusions. So keep a discerning eye, discriminating eye. See what information is actually scientific, but when he starts to talk about some very things that are not entirely solid from a scientific perspective, then you know that that's not the valuable information you are looking for. In fact, in other videos, he actually produces counter arguments against his older arguments, saying that he was actually wrong, that he shouldn't have generalized like that. So those videos, like I said, they are good. They present evidence, but you will suddenly realize some things that are just too not solid enough. They are based mostly on the passion of the investigator rather than on logic and reasoning. But they are still worthy of consideration. So for example, he mentions something about trees in that video. Just keep it like a vague idea, no? Like it could be. You will know what I am talking about. When he mentions trees, you could think, could be possible. And sometimes when he talks about the formation of canyons, that also feels... that doesn't look too reasonable. In some cases, maybe. It's always a good idea to keep an open mind, but you also need that to be a skeptic. And a real skeptic, there are some skeptics that they are actually not skeptics at all. They actually have, like, they treat skepticism, that's how you pronounce it in English? Well, they treat being skeptic as a religion. So they block themselves from any sort of proof or of reasoning, of any logical chain. And so they treat it as a religion. But being a skeptic is actually taking a look at reality and putting things into question, everything. So I hope this video was entertaining. I hope I don't ruin your sci-fi campaigns in tabletop role-playing games. If not, you can treat them as fantasy. That's what I am going to do. Just Traveler. Traveler is absolute fantasy. Everything. It's actually, it should be fantasy, not even science, maybe just a tiny bit of science. But after watching these videos, it's all fantasy. Well, thank you for watching this video. Remember that they have been tricking us in many ways. Like that fraud, the peeled down man. They replaced the jaw of that old skeleton with an orangutan jaw, just to make it seem as if we all come from the same place. And we do not come from the same place. We have different structures. We are part of the same species, but there are noticeable differences. Unless you think that the average guy in Africa is the same as the average Chinese man or the average German man. It's insanity. There are structural differences, and that's not even taking into question the Rh negative factor. Only between 10 to 15% of the population in the world actually have that. Okay. Once again, thank you for watching this video and watching my other videos. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. Make sure that before you come up with some like, no, that is not true, you are lying, kind of like Luke Skywalker, that's a lie. No, take a look at the evidence presented and then come up with your thoughts. So yes, I encourage any comments and questions of those that are of a critical mind. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you and see you later.